In this session, we're going to talk a little bit about the slide. And you know, there's a lot of discussion going on about the slide and the use of the slide in steer wrestling. One of our things in steer wrestling is this. You know, we throw cattle out of a slide. And it's very important to us. I know we put a lot of emphasis on it, and there's a lot of steer wrestlers saying, hey, you know, maybe you slide cattle too far or whatnot, and it takes a little bit longer. But what we're using is basically is our footwork. What we'd like to do is to cut that slide down as much as possible using the proper footwork. Now, there's a lot of guys that say, well, why don't you just jerk the steer around and throw him down and not worry about a slide? Well, it's not really a probability that will work if you're at Cheyenne or if you're at Pendleton or if you're at some of the larger rodeos or where they've got older cattle or where there's rodeos where they got strong cattle. I mean, you still have to use the slide. So, you know, there's a lot of good bull augers, a lot of big bull augers. I'll use Steve Duhon, for instance. You know, Steve Duhon was one of the greatest steer wrestlers of all time. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He'll be in the Hall of Fame if he's not already in there. He's you know, one of the greatest bull augers. But the thing about Steve Duhon, for the power and the size that he had, I mean, he could take a 300-pound roping calf and actually slide him. So I mean, he had the discipline to use the slide to finish his cattle. Now, and that's part of the theory behind what we do is we use our slide to position ourselves and the footwork necessary to put you in that finished position that you need to be in. Now, in this segment, the whole purpose of this is to actually teach you how to practice the slide. Okay, because a lot of guys, you know, they get out there and the first thing they do is, you know, in the stick work and stuff like that, is to just take the stick and get out there and slide. Well, what I'm trying to do is to not only teach you how to slide, but for you to get the most out of your practice sessions that you could possibly get. And that includes the balance that it takes to slide properly, and we're big on balance, probably more so than most. But if you look at other sports and other events, boxing and the other events that just about anything sport related, it requires balance. So that's one of the things that we harp on here, and you can tell when our bull augers go out there to bull aug, the difference in their balance in some of the other bull augers, which, I mean, I've always taken pride in that, and this is one way in showing you how to practice to get that balance. And I don't care if you've been bull auging for 1 year or if you've been bull auging for 10 years, this is something that you can do to actually make yourself better. This is what we call the stick. We use it, this is probably the simplest tool that you can use, but the most necessary tool in learning how to make the slide. One of the things about the stick is it's just a lot of hard work, and a lot of the steer wrestlers don't like to use it because it is so grueling. But I'll tell you, if this is one item that you can't cheat it. I mean, they have steer savers and they have all kind of tools that we use, but this is one thing that you can use that you really can't cheat, and basically it's slow work. The slow work is the best work, and I'm going to use Tyler here to kind of show us what we're going to do here, and we go through a series of exercises, and this is kind of a step-by-step process for building your slide. Now, we've talked about all the way through this thing, when we talked about the stance and we talked about what your body position was, all that stuff was leading up to this, leading up to the slide. Now, our style of steer wrestling is actually throwing the steer out of the slide. So we throw the steer off of the steer's momentum. The steer comes over our backs, over our right shoulder. So everything we're going to show you here is how we get to the finishing point of throwing the steer. And what we start off with, and what we're going to do is we always start on the ground. We like to slide our cattle low to the ground. We like to get down, and we want to take our cattle as low as possible. And even you notice when he sat down, even right there, and I hope you got that. When he sat down, he was leaning forward. Anything you do to go back is a bad habit. We are always forward in everything we do. And I even have these guys, when they're sitting down, even to go forward. The first exercise we do is to make sure that we're getting the hips square. So we stay on the ground, and he'll slide this thing, and we're starting to learn our footwork here, and we're starting to learn where to put that knee. We stay on the balls of our feet, and what we want to do, we don't want to pull on the stick at all like that. What we want to do is we want to stretch, get our body weight as far forward as we can. We're going to find a balancing point for that slide. But right now, our key to this exercise is just to make sure that our hips are square. By keeping them firm on the ground, that's what we'll do. Go ahead. We do this going very slow. Eyes forward, hips down, left foot back, left knee floating. You notice his feet are locked in. He's looking down the pin. Now roll out. Roll out real slow. Before we start the next exercise, when I had him roll out on the last exercise, that's part of our finish. What we want to do is roll up over those horns, this left shoulder going forward, so that we're going down to the nose. That's part of the exercise. As you notice, his head was up the entire time when he was sliding. Then when he started to roll out, he came forward like that and just almost doubled over. That's exactly where we want him. So we'll do it again. Now the second exercise is this. What he's going to do, he's going to do the same thing, but he wants his butt off the ground about 2 inches. So what he's going to do is he's going to slide and maintain that height off the ground. That's how low we want to get down. All right, you notice he's got balance. This is where we're starting to form that breakover point here, and he's showing lots of balance here. Now go down a little bit, back on the ground, now back up a little bit. This is what you do to practice. All right, the third exercise is we'll actually cradle the horns this time. He'll slide with his butt on the ground, and he's going to work his feet work, hips square, but his arms cradle. Now, reason we're doing that is we want to lock in right here so that stick does not get out on the end of our arms. We're bulldogging with our body and not our arm strength. So that right there tells you, see, that stick doesn't go anywhere. All right, let's do it. Notice how square he is. He's looking down the pin. Eyes are focused. He's taking the steer somewhere, and then roll out. Perfect. Next exercise is this. He's going to cradle the stick like he's sliding the steer. This time he's going to come off the ground with his butt about this far. He's found that breakover point. He'll get to that and maintain it. Now, what we'll do is we'll have him maintain that 2 inches, and then we'll let him lower it back to the ground and then come back up. That shows that he's got total control and he's mastered this task. Let's go. See the balance in this bulldogging? This is a balanced guy right here. He's looking down the pin. He owns this steer. Everything's looking forward. Now roll out. Our next exercise in this series of exercises to learn to slide is we're going to actually go to the nose. So on this slide, he's going to slide about this far, about 2 inches off the ground. We'll slide him. He'll push the clutch in on the tractor. As he does, he'll roll up over the stick and he'll go to the nose. It's a real slow exercise. You're trying to perfect your mechanics. Don't go fast. Just do it real slow. You can increase your speed at any time. We usually vary our speeds. It's a lot harder to do this going slow than it is going fast. So this is hard work for these guys, but it's the payoff is that they're building perfect mechanics. All right, let's do that. Let's go. Eyes focused down the pin, head up, perfect balance, left leg back, right toe in. Very slow. Notice here that his hips didn't turn when he went over to the nose. We don't want him coming out here to get to the nose. It's basically go straight over, head down. See where his head is? His head and his ear is going to that steer's nose right there. So that's a perfect position to be in. Is he going to power off on this leg? Now show him how you kind of tweak that nose. Bam, he goes out, away from the steer. He brings that nose out, and he's actually taking that nose and gyrating it like this. He's not actually just pulling the nose and pulling the body of the steer. He's actually gyrating that nose, and his body, when he does this and he starts to throw this steer,
his body is going to do this, and it tweaks that nose right in there and tweaks the nose. So he's got his power leg under him, and he uses this power leg to actually help him throw the steer. This is an awesome exercise. If you notice that tractor rolled back to us, okay, it's a good test to make sure that you're up over that steer, left arm, everything's cradled in here tight, and that you're actually bringing that cow with your body back into you. So that's a good test for you. If you're watching somebody steer wrestle and you're doing this exercise, it's a good test to see if you're doing it correctly. If that tractor doesn't roll back just a little bit, that means, and I don't mean leaning back, I mean by rolling over and bringing the stick into you. It's a whole lot different, not this, but this, then it makes that's telling me that you're where you need to be in your body position. Okay, and this final exercise, this is where you kind of putting everything together. When you run along with steers and you want to get a go, even when you're just shoot dogging or ground throwing these steers, and afterwards where you go on and transition that from the horse to the steer, what you need to learn how to do is to place your body and your weight over the steer's horn. And what you're trying to do here is make sure that your footwork is correct. Doing it slow like this and throwing your feet out and being able to stay over the stick without leaning back or having any bad habits is vital. Most of the people that do this exercise, the 90% that we see out here doing this exercise, will actually, when they throw their feet out, the first thing they do is lean back, and then they have to come forward. Well, when they lean back, this is not the position you want to be in, because all your legs and everything's under you, your horns are up here, and then you have to go back into your position. It takes more time. Most of the time you don't get the power off the horse that you want, and you don't place the horns right. So we're going to do this exercise, and he'll be standing up on this exercise, one of the few that we do standing up, but he'll take his left horn in his hand, show him Tyler, and then what he's going to do, he's going to walk with a stick or trot with a stick. He'll throw his feet out, and he'll get in the slide position.
Well, I hope you got a lot out of that, and you know, we're going to be going toward the more advanced segment of this thing. It's a little bit faster. It makes you move a little faster. We've got some tools that we use. We call it the mule, and it's just basically something we built that you can't cheat. That's basically a really good tool to use, and it's something that you can build yourself. So you might want to stay tuned for our next segment, and it's going to be something that I think you'll really enjoy.